It is October 7th. I had to think about that for a minute. Didn't have that on the top of my head. We have a good day today. A couple of really good points to be optimistic about and some opportunities for you. So if you're looking your daily dose of clarity, you're going to get it today. So last couple of days have been kind of crazy, pretty volatile for the most part. And one particular thing that's dominating the news as far as it comes to like money in the markets and all that kind of fun stuff is the question of the coronavirus relief bill. Now, the Democrats, they want a bill that basically they'll do some relief and it basically pays for everything else. So it's sort of like, yeah, I'll help you fix your car, but it also pays for painting your roof and getting a new TV and putting an addition on your house and all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's just bailing out states' pension funds and all kinds of crazy stuff. And so Trump just had enough of it. And he basically just said enough. And realistically, and what he did is he basically cut off the negotiations. He said, we're not negotiating anymore. I've told my people don't negotiate with him anymore. Which at first I was like, all right, well, I kind of disagree with that. And I'm a big Trump supporter. I just like what he does. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm an anti-incumbent is probably the best way possible to describe me. If you're in office, generally I want somebody else to take over. And it doesn't mean that's always the case, but 99% of the time, whoever's in office is just kind of a sponge for their own wallet. So anyway, I definitely disagreed with that. I was like, why are you doing that? It's like right before the election. It doesn't look good. It looks like you're basically stiffing it to people. And I didn't know if it was like him saying, like a mini extortion saying, well, if I win the election, we'll negotiate something in November. And if I lose the election, well, you're going to have to wait till January to get things started. So I wasn't sure. I didn't know. I could be wrong on that. But anyway, I thought, okay, that's kind of crazy. But then, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, the art of the deal, a lot of times he'll take some very extreme position and then come back. And that second position seems really reasonable. It seems like he's basically giving away the farm, even though it's close to or his original negotiating position. And so anyway, the markets got roiled by that. If we take a look at kind of looking a week back, this is basically when he says no more negotiating. It kind of went up and down. There were people trying to figure this up and down right here. Is people trying to figure out kind of where the things are going. And then it came out today and basically tweeted and said, look, I'll consider a bill that just, it's just for money, a standalone bill that goes right to people, $1,200 per month or whatever it is. I don't know what the frequency is, and a bill to help the airlines out. So as we see that, basically people are starting to calm down a little bit, and I think that's where you see it starting to move up and the sentiment's moving up. So with that being said, especially on the travel side, when it comes to airlines are kind of an uphill stock. So it's like you don't take an airline and just we'll leave it at that. It's like when you're flying on an airline, and especially if you go to like a travel site, you'll see this. You get an airline, then you might get a cab, and you get a hotel, or you're going to spend money in that city. Any type of tourism involved. So the stocks that I noticed today that were the most positively affected, and I say positively because there weren't really any that were negatively affected. I mean, pretty much everything on here is green, and if it's red, it's a really small amount. Like it's down 0.12%, 0.23%, 1.5%. I mean, it really doesn't go more than that, 1.05%. So with that, we look at some of the traditional people going out stocks, for lack of a better term. Red Robin was up 7.5% today. And I think that relates more to the CARES Act being renewed. Signet Jewelers, they do K Jewelers and a bunch of other things like that. Basically was flat and then jumped up. They were up 7% today as well. And that's probably just thinking, okay, people having excess money to spend, discretionary income, probably related to the potential for getting those checks in the mail. Children's Place jumped up 6%. This basically followed the same pattern that you see for Signet, where it's flat and then jump. Okay, and then we see flat and then jump. Then we go to the travel stocks. That's something you got to worry about. October 1st is come and gone. My brother has been furloughed, I'm pretty sure. I asked him how he's doing today, and he's painting his house. So, I mean, that's like... said he's home and he's painting his house. So it doesn't look like he's going anywhere for a long time. And he seemed to be in good spirits. But Just the potential for the airlines being taken care of and Trump having a focus on getting that part of it done sent that stock up about 5% today for American Airlines. United went up the same, went 5.5%. Norwegian, which is farther downstream on what people are doing, is up another 5%. Spirit Airlines went up another 5%. Carnival Cruise Line went up 5.5%, almost 6%. And Full House Resorts, a little bit of a casino, but same industry, went up 7% today. And then one other stock that was the biggest jumper today was Condor Hospitality Trust. These basically do extended stay, limited service, and compact full-service hotels. So again, it's people that are traveling and staying at hotels. That went up 10% today. So it was basically sitting here at about 233, and it jumped up. Well, it doesn't seem like much, but a 10% jump in one day is a pretty nice thing. All right, so that's kind of the gist of most of what's going on today. So if you're looking for stocks to invest in, we have our upside chart. And again, you can get this chart. There's a link in the video description where you could download it, take a more detailed look at it, and actually incorporate it into what you're doing. Put your own stuff in there as well. But we have it sorted by upside. And basically, it's the difference between the price on February 20th of the stock, which is when everything kind of went down for the most part, and the price today. So for the most part, we have Yuko, which we bought really, really cheap. So that's always going to have the biggest upside. And GNC, which is in bankruptcy, little flyer stock I took. But for the most part, the stocks we have right now, the top three outside of that we're invested in: Invesco Real Estate, XAN, which is a commercial real estate stock, and PBF, which is an oil stock. And they're just in the red. They're going to be fine. They'll come back. I'm not worried about it. But they'll probably each take a little bit of time to get back to where they need to go. Condor went up 10% today, and it's still at 4.5 times upside, even after it went up 10% today. Texas Hospitality is a nice stock to own. They do basically hospitality services for the people in the oil exploration industry. Movie theaters have taken it on the chin, so I definitely think it's worth looking at. Cinemark went up, it's almost 4 to 1 on an upside, meaning if you invest $1,000, you'll come out with $5,000. Technically 4,840 or 3,840. Take it back. And they have a 50% of the analysts say that you would buy it. Helix Energy is an oil stock, about the same number, 78%. And I actually had that recently. I'm considering getting it again, but to use a gambling term, I'm going to let it ride a little bit and see where it goes before I invest. Redding is a cinema stock to definitely look at as well. So, but beyond that, under 3%, I'm not really looking at any of these stocks for the most part. Dave & Buster's has been moving up. That's a pretty decent stock. It says 16% buy rating, but I think it's a much better stock than that. And Venom is an oil stock as well, 83% buy. So I'm considering doing that as well. So these are kind of my short list of stocks that I'm considering: Norwegian Cruise Lines, Cinemark, the movie theater company, Helix Energy, Service Corporation, which is a travel and entertainment stock, Condor, which does hotels, and Venom, which is an oil stock. So overall, we have a new leader in the clubhouse. It used to be Caesars Entertainment, but right now Signet Jewelers is leader in the clubhouse. We've more than tripled our investment, and what's crazy? It has a 0% buy rating, which means that there's no analyst on Robinhood that says buy it, and yet we've tripled our money on it. So it just goes to show you can't always just trust and make all your decisions on what the analysts say, because a lot of times they're looking at things differently than you should. Caesar as well, they're more than tripled. They have an 85% buy rating, so kind of funny how it works both ways on that. The next one that we have is close to triple our money is Redwood Trust, which is a REIT. 67% of analysts on Robinhood or Benzinga said to buy it. And the next one up is, which one is this one? Crestwood Equity, which is an oil stock. 40% of the analysts say to buy it, and we're getting close to tripling our money. And then just pulling in right behind them is PVAC, which is an oil stock as well. 0 people said to buy it, and yet for every $1,000 we've invested, we brought in our total to be about $2,500. So we're close to tripling our money on that one. So overall, off the stock purchase price that we have off our cost basis for each of the stocks here, We're basically up 50%. And then for the money that we originally invested, which is close to $34,000, we've more than doubled our money. At the end of the year, my goal is by the end of the year, hopefully sooner, it'll probably happen in November, we'll be up to 100,000 here. And then by March, we're looking at getting this number closer to about 300,000 or so. But it depends what we do here. We may sell some of Yuko, which will actually bring some of the upside down a little bit. Pardon the pun. So we'll still be at least over 250. And again, you always have to target. You always have to have a goal. So it's not me just counting the money or looking at the total. The money for this is going to a beach house in Pacific Beach in San Diego. And so I have that goal. It's my long-term goal, and it's what I keep focused on every single day. So the question for you is, what's your goal? How much are you willing to invest? And what questions you have? So if you have any questions, let me know. Put a comment in the video. Send me an email. There should be a link in the video description. And then also, if you don't have a Robinhood account, there's a link in the video description. Sign up, and it'll give you one free stock on me. So with that being said, let's take a look at tomorrow. So far, we're looking pretty good. It's on an upward trend on all three of these indices, although this is majorly subject to change, so I always check this later in the evening. What's driving all this is COVID, so I like looking at the San Diego County one. And granted, you probably don't live in San Diego County, but it's a really nice data set, and it's representative of what you see across the country. New cases by day, complete downward trajectory. Probably by December, we're probably going to be close to almost nil, which is really, really awesome. They've been doing a little bit more testing lately, which is kind of a break from the norm, but our positivity rate is crashing. So this is the lowest I think it's ever been. Let's see, it was at 2.62, so we're getting close to the lowest it's ever been on record. Which is really, really great news. Hospitalizations are cratering. So in a county of 3 million people, we have all of 83 people in the hospital right now with COVID, which is absolutely phenomenal. We probably have more people in the hospital with emphysema than we do with COVID. And we look at the hospital bed census here, which is the original thing we talked about, flattening the curve, just making sure the red never crossed the blue. We have 6,112 beds in the county, and all of 262 beds are being used by COVID people. And that counts, that's not overnight people. That could be people that are in, if you spend 4 hours in there and you're getting you have a broken leg or whatever, and they're treating you and you have COVID, that counts, even if you go home that day. So we are doing phenomenally. There's no risk as far as that goes. Deaths is getting to a point where our average per day is about 1. If you look at here, we're getting multiple days in a row where you're seeing no deaths at all. Over here, for the most part, the only part in our county that's really a stressor is over by the border, which makes me think that if you're in Mexico down here, it's got to be crazy. And then if you look at all the most recent people that have died of COVID, they're all older, 80, 59, 55, 85, 78, 62, all underlying health conditions. And then if we go down to the bottom, 68, 54, 83, 85, 69, 76, this is more closely. You could probably go to a park and watch people feeding the birds or playing bocce ball or dominoes in the park, and you'll probably have somebody who, those are the people that are dying from COVID. The one thing that's kind of odd here, and this is probably in all the 6 months, we have our one black swan right here, is we have somebody that was 29 years old and didn't have any underlying health conditions. Now, the question with that is, were they just perfectly healthy and they had nothing going on? Or are they one of those stats that we read in the news where the person shoots themselves in the head, they do the autopsy, they do a blood sample or a toxicology thing to see if they're high or on drugs, and then they find out they have COVID, and so they're marked on this list? I don't know. But the odds of somebody who's 29 years old who has no underlying health conditions, that person's family should buy a lottery ticket, because the odds of it happening again are almost nothing. So I bet you if we were to do some type of Freedom of Information Act on this one, we'd find out that the person shot themselves in the head or fell off a ladder or got hit by a car or something like that, and then they also had COVID. So they didn't die of COVID, they died with COVID. So, and realistically, when we look at ethnicity, this person, just to throw even the statistics into more of a tizzy, the person was white. So if we go into the breakdown, and I think we have it here. No, maybe it's down a little bit further. If we have it down here by ethnicity, then, the amount of people that have died overall, 282 people died when they're white, but the percentage of the county, it's 50% of the county. So again, unless you're sitting here in the park watching birds or telling people to get off your lawn, then the odds of you dying for COVID is pretty much zero. So with that being said, there's a lot of undervalued stocks right here that we're looking at, and there's a lot of upside here. So if you haven't invested, get your money in the market, because there's tons of money to be made. The last thing you want to do is have us have a conversation in the middle of next year where I'm telling you about this really cool beach house that I bought right by the beach in San Diego, and for you to be sitting here going, man, I wish I would have invested. Man, I was watching the video on October 7th and I didn't pull the trigger. This is free money being given away. It's like walking on the corner and a guy's handing out $50 bills. If you don't want the $50 bills, don't blame him. It's time to get started. So if you have any questions or you need any help with anything, reach out to me, put a comment in the video, or shoot me an email. Other than that, I will see you tomorrow. To get more information on the sales cheat code, go ahead and click on the subscribe button below. Also, down below in the video description, down there, there's a link that takes you to our website that gives you additional content, some additional freebies that we have, and gives you information on some programs that we have that have been proven to help people to make sales easy so that you can make the kind of money you want, live the lifestyle that you've always wanted, and not have to struggle in the process. And what might be the coolest thing of all is you don't have to put much effort into it. It truly is a cheat code that most people don't know about. And it's a cheat code that can change your life today. So click on the link below and let me help you start to experience these results starting right now.